What if everything you were taught about disciplining your dog, the firm voice, the correction, the look you give them when they've done something wrong, what if all of it was making things worse? Not because you're a bad owner, not because you didn't care, but because someone you trusted handed you a broken map and called it science. Here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. The most damaging thing ever done to the relationship between dogs and the people who love them wasn't cruelty. It was discipline, taught wrong, applied with confidence, and passed down for generations as absolute fact. We were told discipline was how you shaped a dog, how you kept them safe, how you showed them who was in charge. But what if the entire framework, the corrections, the dominance, the stern no, was never built around what dogs need at all? What if it was built around what makes humans feel in control? Because fear in a dog rarely looks like trembling. It doesn't always look like cowering. It looks like a dog that won't hold eye contact, a dog that goes completely still the moment your voice changes, a dog that obeys perfectly, immediately, every single time, and feels nothing safe about doing it. You didn't choose fear. You chose discipline because someone told you it was love. And today, we're going to dismantle that, one lie at a time. Stay with me through all 6 of these, because lie number 4 is the one that hits differently. It doesn't come from aggressive trainers or harsh punishment. It comes from calm, loving, well-intentioned owners who genuinely believed they were being fair. It's the lie that wears the face of reason, and it may be doing the quietest, deepest damage to your bond right now. If you've ever corrected your dog and felt something uncertain move through you right after, some small doubt you couldn't name, that uncertainty was your instinct trying to tell you something. Today, we finally listen to it. And if this video changes how you see your dog by the end, share it with someone who loves theirs. Now, lie number 1. You walk through the door, something's been chewed, something's been knocked over, and your dog, before you've said a single word, is already doing that ding. The flattened ears, the slow body, the tail tucked low, the eyes looking up at you sideways, and every instinct in you says they know exactly what they did. Here's what actually happened. Alexandra Horowitz, a cognitive scientist at Barnard College, ran a landmark study on this exact behavior, the so-called guilty look, and what she found dismantled the entire myth. Dogs display those signals in direct response to owner body language and tone of voice, not to their own memory of what they did. Dogs who are falsely accused, scolded for something they never even did, showed the exact same expression as dogs who had actually misbehaved. It is not guilt. It is appeasement. It is an ancient, deeply wired social signal that says, you are upset, I am not a threat, please don't hurt me. Every time you pointed at the mess and watched your dog lower their head, you felt confirmed. You felt understood. You thought your dog was capable of moral reasoning. What your dog was actually doing was reading the storm moving across your face and dressing for it. We looked into their eyes and saw conscience. They looked into ours and saw weather, and they dressed accordingly. So the guilty look was never what we thought. But what about the correction that follows it? Surely if you catch them in the act, that changes everything, right? The timing window for a dog to meaningfully connect a correction to a behavior is 1 to 2 seconds. That's it. After that, the link dissolves entirely in the canine brain. And yet discipline culture has built elaborate rituals around corrections that happen minutes, sometimes hours after the behavior occurred, dragging the dog back to the scene, pointing, raising your voice, all of it landing on a brain that has already moved on completely. The dog isn't connecting your anger to what they did. They are connecting your anger to you, in this moment, in this mood. That is not learning. That is damage. Think about it this way. Imagine receiving a speeding ticket in the mail 3 weeks after the drive. The road is gone. The moment is gone. All that remains is the fine and a deep disorienting confusion about what you're actually being punished for. The owner who came home to a destroyed cushion and spent 10 long minutes expressing their frustration, convinced they were communicating, their dog spent those 10 minutes in a state of pure physiological terror, learning nothing about cushions and everything about the unpredictability of the person they depended on for survival. Timing matters more than we ever knew. But there's a lie even more pervasive than bad timing, and it lives in something we use every single day. Our voice, low, slow, commanding. The alpha voice has been the gold standard of dog discipline for generations. Project Authority. signal dominance, be taken seriously. But here's what canine auditory processing actually tells us. Dogs don't register low tones as authority. They register them as threat signals, the same tonal range as a growl. And a growl from an unpredictable source doesn't inspire respect. It triggers the freeze-flight-fight response. The dog that goes perfectly still when you use that tone isn't respecting you. Their nervous system just shifted into survival mode. Think of a person who has worked for a boss whose calm voice was the most frightening voice in the office. No one confused that calm for safety. They understood it as warning. Your dog is doing the same math, and the answer they keep arriving at is, something dangerous might be about to happen. Stay still. Stay small. Make it through this. The firm voice that worked so well wasn't working the way you thought. It was working because fear, when it's consistent enough, looks exactly like obedience. And now, lie number 4, the one I promised you, the one that comes from the most well-intentioned place of all. Don't react. Don't reward the behavior with attention. Withdraw. Stay neutral. Ignore it. This is the lie that wears the face of modern, progressive dog ownership. And in very specific, limited contexts, like ignoring a dog who jumps up for attention, there is legitimate application. But applied broadly as a discipline philosophy, systematic social withdrawal from a social species is not neutrality. It is punishment. One of the most psychologically potent punishments available. Dogs are neurologically wired for social connection, the way humans are wired for oxygen. Withdrawal of connection, repeated, unpredictable, tied to behavior the dog can't fully decode, doesn't teach a dog what you want. It teaches them something far more damaging, that your presence is conditional, and conditional presence is the breeding ground of anxiety. The owner who carefully, consistently turned their back, left the room, withdrew affection, who followed this advice believing they were being kind by not escalating. Their dog was learning one slow, devastating lesson. I can lose them at any moment, for reasons I don't fully understand. The cruelest thing you can do to a creature built for belonging is make belonging feel uncertain, even if you do it quietly, even if you do it with the best intentions. So ignoring isn't neutral. But what about something even more physical, something millions of owners do every single day, convinced it's harmless? The scruff shake, the tap on the nose, the alpha roll pinning a dog on their back to establish dominance. These were the backbone of dog training for most of the 20th century, and they were defended with one argument. It's what dogs do to each other. It is factually, demonstrably wrong. Wolves do not alpha roll each other. Dogs do not scruff shake each other into submission. These behaviors were misread from flawed captive wolf studies and transplanted onto a completely different species as though they were universal law. What physical corrections actually do, neurologically, is activate the amygdala's threat response, flood the body with adrenaline and cortisol, and permanently encode your hands as a source of potential pain. The hands that feed. The hands that reach for the leash. The hands that is supposed to mean safety. You know the dog that flinches when you reach toward them too quickly. The dog that ducks slightly when you raise your arm. The owner who never understood where that flinch came from, who would never intentionally hurt their dog, and yet whose hands had been taught in small physical corrections across months or years to mean something the dog had to brace for. Every flinch is a memory, and memories live longer than the moment that made them. We've talked about hands, but there is one final lie, and it lives in something even more constant than touch. It lives in the relationship itself. This is the lie that holds every other lie together. The meta-myth. Respect. We were told dogs need to respect us, that without respect, there is no bond. That discipline is how respect is earned. But canine behavioral science doesn't recognize respect as a functional concept in the dog-human relationship. Dogs don't experience respect. They experience safety or threat, trust or uncertainty, predictability or danger. What we called respect, the obedience, the deference, the perfect compliance, was often simply a fear response that had been consistent enough to look stable. And a bond built on fear isn't a bond. It is a hostage situation that both parties have mistaken for love. Consider this: the owner with the most perfectly behaved dog, never jumped, never pulled, never broke a command, who noticed one day that their dog never chose to be near them when the leash came off, never sought them out. never brought them a toy just to share the moment, obeyed everything, wanted nothing. That dog had learned to survive their owner's discipline beautifully. They had never learned to love it. What your dog actually needs from you is not your authority. It is your consistency, not your dominance, your safety, not your discipline, your clarity. These things build something discipline never could. A dog that stays close not because they have to, but because of all the places in the world, close to you is where they choose to be. Come back to your dog for a moment, wherever they are right now, on the floor, by the door, watching you from across the room. That dog has been trying to trust you since the day they arrived. Through every correction they didn't understand, every withdrawal they couldn't predict, every change in your voice they tried to read like a map of somewhere safe. They stayed. They came back. They tried again the next morning. That is not just obedience, that is devotion, given without condition to a relationship they didn't have the language to leave. You now have something most owners never get, the truth about what those moments cost them, and more importantly, what's still possible. It's not too late. It was never about being a perfect owner. It's about becoming a safe one. Start there. And if this changed how you see your dog today, share it with someone who loves theirs. The next video takes you even further. Your dog isn't going anywhere.